Greetings and welcome to Explorations in Healing. I'm Raven and this is Amy. We're part of Divine Union. And we're really excited right now to be moving into this phase of starting to generate a community of healers. And we want to just start this exploration over the next few months of talking about some of these topics in connection and healing and how what healers really are in our view and in your view, and to get a dialogue going here so that we can really begin to connect with the intent of putting together a group of healers that work together in the fall. So we're going to start with these topics, and this one is the precursor, our first one, and the precursor to the talk the conference call that we're hoping that you're going to be on, and we'll be talking with you shortly whenever we're doing that. So we're going to start off with a little visualization. So take a moment and close your eyes. Take a couple full deep breaths. I'd like you to imagine that you're driving a car. Driving down a street where there's a fair amount of traffic in front of you, behind you. As you look up in the distance, quite a ways away at the limit of your vision on the road, you see an accident happen. Two cars crash into one another. The traffic in front of you slows to a halt in response to this accident. You can see there's quite a few cars between you and the accident. There's people getting out. A police car happens to be right close there, and you see it coming into the scene, the traffic backed up. Just notice, what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? What's going on inside of you in response to seeing this accident? Taking a couple more breaths to explore what your internal world is like in response to this accident happening in the world. A couple more breaths into your body. When you're ready, you can open your eyes.
So each of us has different responses, and some of you will have different responses every time you go through an experience where you are near an accident or some call for help. And some of us will have lots of experiences at the same time, lots of competing things going on. My experience, for as long as I can remember, ever since I was young, when something like this happened, was to go immediately into prayer. So for me, that might have words. It often has words. I have a very specific prayer I always do in these kind of cases. But it also involves me sending light to the situation, with as little thought about the situation as I can possibly have. I just immediately send light from my heart to whatever's going on there. And I envision kind of a bubble of light surrounding those involved in that situation.
For myself right now, I have somewhat similar experience to what Amy is talking about because of a new context that I have. But what I would normally do and have done in that situation is make myself really available energetically. So to really kind of drop into dreaming, to really open, to really bring a lot of energy present and make it available for the resolution for the highest good of the situation that I was in, that's happening right now. But that certainly was not always the case in terms of how types of experiences I would have had in this same thing. I actually had this experience a couple of times over my life. And I think it's interesting to note, like the first time that happened, I really remember just thinking about, really feeling into and thinking, I want to know how to maneuver my way through this. This is an obstacle in my way. I don't want to be involved with the authorities. I don't want to see anybody hurt or in great pain. And what do I need to do to maneuver my way through this so that I don't have to have as limited of an experience of this as I possibly can. I remember having that experience when I was a teenager and in my early 20s of just not wanting to get involved. And I also remember after having another type of experience where I felt like I had to do something. Okay? So the movement inside of me as I watched this accident happen, this is later in my life, and I really felt like I must do something. It's my responsibility to take care of this situation, to make sure that something happens so that this comes to a good resolution, in the physical plane. So to jump out and make something go, even though there were a lot of other people involved. And I had to do it. Okay? So there's a couple of things, a couple of different ways that I've experienced that over time.
And there are so many different responses that we have to this kind of situation. Sometimes some people might feel bothered. Oh, I'm going to be late for work. This is really an imposition on me. Some people who have had their own experience, perhaps with a similar situation, say you've been in a car accident yourself, might immediately feel that trauma re-triggered inside your own body. You might have emotional responses. You might go into fantasy about wondering what happened up there and making stories about that. So there's a plethora of responses to this kind of situation. And we'll be using this emergency situation with strangers as a metaphor actually throughout our explorations, because it's really helpful for us to use to explore how interconnected we all are. And Caroline Myss tells this amazing story that helps us see the potential that each of us has in this very situation, where we're seemingly just driving down the street, minding our own business, and a stranger needs help. So she tells this story about a woman who came up to her when she was giving a workshop in London. And the woman said, I want to tell you about the power of prayer in my own life. And prayer is a very specific term in some cultures. We're going to use it here, kind of very openly, to describe sending love and light on someone's behalf. So this woman says, I want to tell you about what prayer did in my life. Years ago, I was involved in a really serious car accident. And I felt the impact of my car, and I left my body. So she found herself floating above and seeing her body pressed up against the steering wheel. And she immediately became able to hear all the thoughts around her of all the people. So as soon as she left her body, some of the barriers that had been imposed by this physical form were gone, and she could hear other people's thoughts. And what she heard was kind of a cacophony of, oh, I'm going to be late for work, damn, what's happened? Frustration is what she heard. But eventually she felt and saw light coming from a car five cars back. She felt light. And so she was pulled, as soon as her attention went to that light, she was pulled there, and she was sitting in the car. She felt herself sitting in the car next to the person from whom she could see that light. And she could hear this woman who was praying for her. The woman was just saying, I don't know what's going on up there, but please help everything turn out okay. She was sending love and concern and light to this stranger. She was so touched, and at that moment, she decided she wanted to remember this. She wanted to know who this person is, so she had the awareness to look at the license plate number, which is just amazing to me. Look at the license plate number, and then immediately once she did, she remembers being called back by an angelic voice, called back to her body and saying, it's not time, you have to come back to this form, you have to finish out this lifetime. So it took her months, once she got back into her body, for that form to heal itself physically. But during that time, she kept in her memory the license plate number, and she always kept in her memory this experience. And when she was able to, she found this woman through using the license plate, and she went to offer her a gift. She gave her flowers in thanks for praying for her. It's an incredible story of how connected we all are, and how just a thought, just a prayer actually connects us to one another and has the capacity to help pull us back to ourselves, which is what healing is for us. Pull us back to remind us who we are. There's so many anecdotal stories similar to this one, and maybe you have your own. And these kind of stories are very important because they help remind us of something that we really often forget, which is that we are unbelievably connected, undeniably connected. Our response to these kind of situations, though, what we would like our response to be is to always be one of connection, no matter what the accident is, no matter what has just happened, the emergency. What I am committed to is remembering and living according to that interconnectedness. But most of us don't have that actual experience throughout our lifetimes. So your response to that very visualization is determined by a lot of things.
It really is, and a lot of times we're feeling a lot of places of disconnection, and that's totally natural in terms of how our domestication has happened, how our socialization, what is created, and also just our different life experiences, the different ways that we were brought up and how those impact our moment-to-moment experience. So bringing those into consciousness is how we get to a place where we drop through the layers of disconnect and come back to a place of really honoring what is actually true, which is we're connected. It's not like we have to create connection, create this idea of wholeness, create this sense of unity or oneness with other people. It's already there. We just have to see what have we put in the way of that has kept us from feeling this connectedness to the whole. No matter who you are, you've experienced a disconnection at some point in your life. I mean, it's just a natural part of growing up as a human. And so we're just really working to come back to that. I'm going to read this little piece of something that I wrote just to bring it home to us. Most of us have gone through such an intense period of disconnect from others as part of our socialization and indoctrination into this culture that often we don't even realize that we can't really feel other people. We also often don't realize that the most amazing feelings we are capable of having, that indeed we came here to experience, revolve around connecting deeply with other people. Stop and feel that for a minute, because I really believe what I wrote there is that really the most amazing experiences that are possible for us as a human are really about connecting with other people, about being in connection, honoring the place where we are one, and that true, deep feeling sense that is us. That's what we're here for, in a really big way, is to find that experience and to come back to it. And we often don't realize that we can't feel other people, so I just want to pull on that one for just a second, okay? Because I know this was really true for me. I didn't even really know that I wasn't experiencing people at depth in a really intimate way. These layers of things get put on top of our feeling sense of other people. And also sometimes when we're growing up, we don't have a lot of opportunity, maybe even because of our life experience, to connect deeply with people. And so we don't even really know what that is until it happens sometimes. And then even if we have, we cover that up. And so it's really coming back to this sense. For me, a lot of the healing and a lot of being a healer is coming back to our willingness to feel deeply the people that we're with, that are in our lives, and who we touch as we move through it.
And a really important aspect of this is to just start to develop our awareness of that, of how often we actually are living through connectedness without judgment. So that's why we use this little visualization, because it helps us realize what is my natural response. And so some of us, Raven for instance, the way that he grew up, all of that affected how he would respond in a certain situation. Similarly, the way I was raised affected how we would respond. And there's no judgment around that at all, but when we're healers, whether we call ourselves healers with a capital H, or and we do that for a living, or we are consciously aware that we are all here living a healing path, the really important first step to consciously walking this path is to begin to call ourselves back to interconnectedness by examining, where have I learned to be disconnected?
So for me, one of those places is that I really saw that is I grew up as an only child, and I was didn't have a lot of experience of connecting with other people in the same kind of ways that other family situations might be, because everybody was an adult around me, so I didn't have a whole lot of like kid kind of intimacy that people have. And I also wound up being a bit of an isolator. So I was really my parents and my life situation and such trained me how to maneuver through the realm of other people. Okay, how to get around, how to make my way through the stream of this world out here, this socialization, this culture that we're in, how to maneuver my way through it, but not really about how to connect with it or how to do something as a group, or to even do something in a deep way, like in service. Like I was really taught to be an individual and to honor my individuality and to move, to find my way through the culture out there and through society.
And I'm at the totally opposite end of the spectrum from Raven. I grew up the middle of three children, really close together in age, and we moved around the globe. So we not only connected with one another very, very intently so that we could feel home as we moved around the globe, but I also got to connect with people from all different cultures. And I was raised in a family that for generations, for hundreds of years actually, has been of service, both sides of my family, and both of my parents were in jobs of service. So that was something that was just always in the framework. What are you doing to help somebody today? What are you doing to help somebody today? As it was true also in my spiritual community from my childhood. That service was the most important thing. So that really affected how I saw my interconnection with others, which led me into realms of service, led me to understand a calling or hear a calling quite early on. Each of us has these ways that we were brought up that can help us feel more connected with others, or that can kind of hinder. And what we're saying is, we want to hear about all of those from all of you. How do you feel connected? And how can we peel back the layers, the sort of lies we were told, the lies we told ourselves about the distinction among people? Because each of you, even if you're like Raven, an only child, only grandchild, only kid for miles around, and an isolator, you felt disconnection, and each of us has felt disconnection, but we each have felt connection. Often, it's not with humans, it can be with life out there, with trees and animals. But each of us has experienced deep connection and the healing power of deep connection with each other. And so, one thing to do, let's just do this for a second, close your eyes, and remember or ask your being to bring forth a time where someone, perhaps it was a person close to you, or it was a situation in your awareness, someone or something really felt in need of healing. And ask your being to show you a response you had that helped in that healing, whether you prayed for that person or you called a friend to let them know you were supporting them. Or maybe there was an environmental crisis that had occurred, and you sat and you sent love to that situation. Once your being presents you with that, just allow yourself to breathe into that feeling, that experience of connection between you and this other. Allowing that sense of connection to just fill your entire being. Good, and hold that. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. That's the basis for healing, in my opinion, is that exact feeling.
And it's really beautiful that Amy wrote this blog post that we hope you'll all read before we do the conference call, called Code Blue. And in that, she's really talking about how we all know what to do. We all know what to do. And it's this feeling that we were just in. We know this. We know this feeling. We know this sense of being drawn to open, to heal, to share light, to be with other. It is in us. And I was really struck by that when I was reading the blog, just about, wow, of course. Of course. If I didn't have anything in the way, if I wasn't thinking other thoughts or distracted by my beliefs or absorbed somehow in my own little world, and someone else was in need around me, of course, my innate response would be to share love, to share light, to share connection with that person. Of course it would. And I think that's such a simple truth, but one that is so easy to lose in the beliefs and in the distractions of the world. That we really are here in support with one another. We are here together in this lifetime. And we can honor that in a conscious way and bring more depth and intimacy and beauty into our life.
So we hope. We're really excited and we're hopeful that you'll play with us in this way. We're going to explore in these coming months the things that keep us from that, the things that keep us from living that connection through healing. And we'll do a lot of practice in order to hone our muscles, these healing muscles, these connection muscles. And one thing I hope to do is present you with some cool new scientific data that proves what a lot of us have experienced already, and that is our interconnectedness. There's a book that came out last year, I believe, called The Bond by Lynn McTaggart, and it's incredible. It's so fascinating. What she does is she compiles research from so many different areas, quantum physics, the cutting-edge biology, so many different scientific realms. And what this data all shows is exactly the experience we just had, this interconnectedness. And what scientists are now being able to prove is what mystics and shamans and artists and lovers have known since the beginning of human time, and that is that we are connected, and that once we come into connection with another being, we are forever changed by that connection. So that there is no thing, there is no bit of matter. Matter doesn't exist on its own, it's all in relationship to another bit of matter. And every time that an organism comes into contact with another organism, even if it's only briefly, they kind of leave a little imprint on one another and are forever changed. So knowing that in our hearts, and now our minds can have something to chew on, knowing that, that's really exciting, because it means that I get to be conscious of every interaction I have and how open I am to sharing with someone else all of the love and the light that's in my heart, as opposed to all the other things we share with one another. We're going to play with a lot of exercises during this explorations in healing to get us sort of attuned to each other as a group. And then we're going to see in the fall how we can gift the world with the healing that we create with one another.
I'm just really inspired by this. I'm in a lot of gratitude, and I'm also very inspired by this feeling sense that Amy and I have been having around working with healers and healing energy as a focus, as something that we are really consciously bringing a lot of intent to. And I have a lot of gratitude for that and a lot of inspiration, and I'd love to feel that from you as we go forward into this time together, is some commitment to really consciously opening at a deeper level into what healing, connection, and beauty is for each of us, and in relationship to one another, and to put some energy behind committing to healing, and exploring that healing on a really conscious level around intimacy and relation to energy, environment, people, everything. So to set a little bit of intent around that.
Exactly. No matter what, if you are a physician, if you are an alternative healer, if you are a parent, if you're a child, if you are in relationship with another person, you are on a healing path.
Yes.
And we each have come here to heal. We believe strongly that not only ourselves, but to heal our environment, to heal communities, to heal ancestral lines, and to heal our planet. And that's happening. It's happening regardless of our consciousness, but we can sure speed things up and make them a whole lot more enjoyable if we're conscious about this path. So what we're going to explore this first month is each of us in this interconnectedness and how that means that we are each healers. So I'm going to end with a little visualization to get you kind of opening to your capacity as a healer. And we hope that you'll read Code Blue when you have the chance and join us May 19th, 7 o'clock Mountain Time, for a conference call, which will just be a little guided discussion. It's really going to be a discourse where we all do some exercises and really explore ourselves as healers.
I'll also be watching the Practitioner's Journal on the website where you're watching this video at divineunion.us, because the Practitioner's Journal over the next 4 months really, are going to be reflecting this process that we're in of working with healing and around healers. And so each week there'll be another little snippet there for us to work with.
Awesome. All right, so we'll end with a visualization, closing your eyes. Taking some deep breaths into your low belly. I'm going to begin with a type of breathing that we'll probably do periodically together, so I'll teach it to you. It's a breath that I call the infinity breath. So for your first inhalation, focus on your root, the very bottom of your torso, the very base of your spine, and breathe from that point. Inhale up to your heart. Good, and now exhale from heart up until your third eye, which is the middle of your forehead. If you go back from the middle of your forehead into the center of your head. Good. And on the next breath, you'll inhale from third eye, from that place down to your heart. And exhale from heart to root, the base. So you're making actually an infinity symbol with the cross at your heart, the bottom, at your root, and the top at your third eye. So let's take a moment to just breathe like that, at your own pace. Beautiful. And now opening your entire being and asking Spirit, asking your highest self to remind you of a time when you were a healer, one experience you had of healing. Being open to whatever information comes in whatever form. You might have a memory, you might see a picture, you might hear a song, you might just see a color, you might have a feeling. All of these are the same. Be open and receptive. The question is, when was I a healer? One experience when I was a healer. And once you begin to get that, you can release any memory, any imagery associated, and just call in that feeling, build that feeling within you, what it felt like to be a healer. With each breath, build that feeling a little bit bigger. Allow it to radiate farther out. Imagine your body itself as a hollow bone. Totally hollow, and in that space is just this healing energy. Beautiful. Keep that knowing, that experience of you as a healer, you being this channel for healing energy. Keeping that in your awareness. Draw your attention back to your physical form in this time and space. Becoming aware of this body as that channel for healing. And staying open to that experience of you as a healer, we'll take a few moments and do that infinity breathing again. Remember, on the first inhalation, you're breathing up from root to heart. Exhaling from heart to third eye. And inhaling from third eye down to heart. And exhaling from heart down to root. Wonderful. When you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Fantastic. Thank you all. We look forward to visiting with you on the call.
Many, many blessings, and our prayer is that all beings benefit from the time we've spent together. May all beings know that they are already healed. May all beings know that they are interconnected. May all beings be at peace. And may all beings be free. Namaste.
Namaste.